A few months ago, SV sent me this. This is the SV241, and I called it a fancy USB powered hub. And that's basically what it is. You can't control any of this. But now SV has stepped up their game and they have sent me this, which is the SV241 Pro, and it comes with full ASCOM support, and I am honestly really impressed. You have control over most of the ports except for the always on powered DC port, along with temperature and humidity sensors. The accessories are included, and this is such a huge upgrade from the little one here, but they're both pretty useful. SV sent me this Powerbox to review, so thanks to SV for sending this to me, and also as a note that they have no weight on anything I say in this video. And I'll also add that although I've been in this hobby for almost 14 years now, I always had a simpler setup. I never had a Powerbox. I used my own USB hub. I used long USB cables for my dew heaters. My cable management was horrible. So this was actually the first like real kind of Powerbox that I've ever used. So I tried to keep things simple for a long time just because this hobby is already really expensive. So I didn't want to spend money that I didn't have to. So with all that said, whether you already have a Powerbox and you use it or you don't have one, I am proof that you can get something like this and get started pretty easily, pretty intuitively as well. And just like in SV fashion, this thing compared to its competitors is cheap. The SV241 Pro starts at $170 and the SV241 regular is $50 at the making of this video. SV did send me a coupon code to share with everyone, which is NASMUS20, which will give you $20 off this thing from their website. It may change in the future, so look in the description for the most up-to-date coupon. But for now, you can get this for $150, which is amazing considering that a competitor, the Pegasus Astrobox, when I looked, it cost $360, and that's kind of insane. So let's take a look at what came in the box, take a closer look at it, and see it in action. So in the box, we have the main SV241 Pro unit, and then the mounting plate, the hex screws, and wrench. So I'm really glad that they included this because the SV241, the regular one, did not have that. It also comes with a 12-volt car power input adapter, along with a USB 3 cable. It has 1, 2, 3 12-volt output power cables, which is great. A temperature sensor and a temperature and humidity sensor. I do appreciate them including both of these so that they're not additional accessories to buy. And a manual that says SV241YC. I asked and they told me the YC doesn't stand for anything. Compared to the older version, which weighs 159 grams with the dovetail plate installed that I provided, so that one did not come with a dovetail. The newer one weighs 241 grams with the dovetail plate that they included. And if you add the temperature and the humidity sensors, it jumps up to 267 grams, minus the half a gram for the twist ties. Let's take a closer look at the Powerbox here. This is the size of it, so we can compare it to the previous version, this previous SV241, and we can see that there is a pretty significant size difference. And we can compare the ports that we have access to. So here we have access to 4 ports here on this side. This one has 6 ports, and 5 of them are actually on switches, so we can control these through software in Nina. And this one is always on, which would be useful for things like a mini PC or even a mount or maybe even a camera. If we flip this over, on this side, we have the USB 3.0 connection to connect to the PC and a 12-volt power in. Same thing with the older version, but this one has the light indicators, the 5 volts and the 12 volts on this side. Going over to this side, we have more USB ports, which is always great. So we have access to 2 USB 3 ports, just like the old one, but now we have access to 3 USB 3 ports, which is great because you don't need USB 3 for everything. And the older one has the 5 volts and 12 volt indicator up here. But again, we saw the indicators on this side of the new one, and they both have USB Type-C connections here. And when we look on this side, we have access to one more regulated power port. This one had 2 DC 12 volts out and another 2 5 volt out only power. So this did not do any data. I believe all of these do data, which is nice. So I'm going to put this away. And here we have access to a few new things. So we have a couple of PWM ports here for dew heaters if you have that kind of connection. I do have this on my Edge HD, my dew heater, but in this video I did not test this. So this is one of the things that I need to test for a future video. but I will be testing 5-volt dew heaters in this video, just not the PWM ports. This also has access to a temperature as well as a temperature per plus humidity sensor here, or I think that's called a hydrometer. And those two ports, those two connections are these things here. And one cool accessory that I did like that, you saw it, is that it came with the mounting bracket here. This one didn't. So I was lucky enough that I had this small dovetail plate that I was able to just attach, but this did not come with this, but the mounting plate on this one does, so which is nice. So I'm just going to quickly mount it in, and then we will install the software on this on my mini PC, and we'll go there next. And before I forget, I do want to mention that it does have a 1¼ inch hole here so that we can mount this on somewhere else like a tripod, and it doesn't have to be one of these things. Alright, I'm connected to my mini PC, and the first thing you should do is, if you don't already have it, is download the ASCOM driver for the SV241 Pro. And I'll put this link in the description below, but you can also Google for SV241 support driver, and what was that? And alright, so I am going to click on download. I'm going to download this. It will also download the hub control app. And there's also the firmware package and flashing tool for the SV241 Pro if we need to do it. So I'm just going to download all of these. I downloaded everything, and I'm going to slowly install each of these. So I'm going to do my ASCOM driver first. Click on more info, run anyway. Click yes. Click I accept, and then install, and then it takes a couple of seconds. Don't need to read the README, so I'll click that off. And I'm also going to install the hub controller manager. Click more info, run anyway. Install.net. And if you get this error, you need to install .net. I don't have it on my mini PC, but I think I have it on my desktop. So you just go on here, you click it, and installs for you automatically from Microsoft.com. There you go. Installation was successful. Took a couple of seconds, so now I can go back here. Let's run this. And there we go. So you have the hub controller app running right now. So this doesn't install anything. I think it just runs from this. So what you can do is you can right-click this and then click on Pin to Start or something. And then it shows up here. So you can run it whenever you want. So I'll just close this. And then we can run this. There we go, and it tells me which COM port the SV is connected to, which is COM port 6. I click on connect, so it's connected and has all of these switch controls. They do seem to be on. I can turn them off. Pretty cool, and we should be able to do this through Nina as well. So the one thing to know about this hub is that you can either use this with the SV241 Pro or Nina. Only one software can be connected to the SV241 Pro at a time. So this is just a standalone app to let you control some things outside of other capture software. Alrighty, let's close this up. Now I'm going to go over to the firmware package manager and see if there's any firmware. So I'll just click on open main.exe. Click run anyway. You do have this in non-English, so click on COM6. I'm going to click on this one. This button, I believe, is using the command port. So this is downloading the latest firmware, and it is installing it in the Powerbox. So it's pretty nice, although this is not in English. I think this is done when it says leaving hard resetting via RTS pin. Okay, cool. So I can open up the serial controller again. And then let's connect. These didn't turn on automatically this time. Interesting. Alrighty. Alright, let's close this up. So we have our everything downloaded. So I'm going to click on open up Nina. But anyways, we're going to find our switch. And we're going to, I didn't even have to refresh it because I had it on already installed. I can click on ASCOM driver for SV switch. We can click on this little settings button. And it gives us names of these ports, so we can update it here. And I can see TSON, it gives you a little teaser. Let's say, my DC port is going to be camera, and then this one's going to be mount. I'm just going to leave it as is, leave the rest of them as is. It's just a test. COM port 6, we want to make sure that's selected. Press OK, and then let's connect. There you go, switch is connected, and we can see that the switch names have updated to camera and mount. So I connected the temperature sensor and the humidity sensor just to get some values. So you can see the dew point is 8.29 degrees Celsius, and the lens temperature, the temperature right now is 21.64 degrees. Kind of nice. The ambient humidity is 39 degrees here in my basement office, which is kind of dry. And the ambient temperature is 23 degrees with a voltage of 12.26 volts coming in here. And you can see that it turned on all of these as off, which is, so if I turn this on and I turn this off, disconnect, and then reconnect, so it does remember what the setting was, which is kind of nice. So I'm just going to turn all of these on, and we're going to do a little quick test. I'm going to turn this off, and then restart Nina. All right, going back to switch, turning this on. There we go. So they do stay on, which is nice. And I did notice that these buttons don't have a memory beyond the current powered session. So if you turn the Powerbox off completely and you turn it back on, I've noticed that the switches stay off. So that seems to be the default state, and that seems to be how this works. So I think others have mentioned the same issue as well. Just quickly going over some of these other buttons here, we can see that the USB connections are on two switches, so USB 3 to 5, and USB-C and USB 1 and 2, so which is good to know. And the DC values, the one good thing is that they're all numbered, so you don't have to remember them. And I think I did notice that if you disconnect this and you want to rename the switches again, you click this on, it doesn't remember because it's not reading from wherever it saves. I think it's at the registry file. If I click on OK and I reconnect, it loses the labels here. So Rich from Deep Space Astro has a workaround with registry file editor. It's going to be an advanced setting. So if you're comfortable making edits to your computer's registry, feel free to follow that along. I'll link to his video in the description. But for now, this seems okay. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to test this out in the field and see how this goes. Just a quick look outside. I have the Powerbox installed on my Ascar 91F. And to it, I have connected my camera, which is the ZWO ASI 2600 MC Pro, and the ZWO CAA, the camera angle adjuster. And onto this, I also have connected pretty much all 5 USB cables. I do not have anything connected to the USB Type-C cable, but 2 of those are actually dew heaters that are pulling quite a bit of current. And as I said before, I'm unfortunately not going to be able to test the RCA Type PWM cables for dew at this moment, but I'm sure it works just fine. And as you can see, I have a pretty simple setup with just 2 12-volt connections there. I have everything connected and I'm imaging now. You can see that I have my camera connected to it. It's at negative 10 degrees Celsius. It's pretty chilly outside, so it's only using 28% power. Cooler power, the dew heater is on. So far, so good. I've been imaging for about 15 minutes now, I think, but I actually started with taking darks before it got dark outside. So I don't have a filter wheel. I have a focuser. That's pretty good. I have a rotator that's also working. Again, the rotator doesn't use power unless it's working. Right now it's not. I have the mount getting power as well. And I have the guider here, which also has the guide scope or the guide cam. And then the switch here is the topic of this video. So we can see that I'm using about between 28 and 32 watts of power here. Pretty good. When we look at the input voltage, it's at 12.02, which is perfect for all of my gear, and I can monitor this. So this is what was missing in the previous version of the SV241. I do wish it had that. You can look at the ambient temperature, 6.3 degrees, and the ambient humidity is 51, and the humidity is supposed to get higher. The lens temperature is at 6 degrees, and dew point is negative 2.9, and the ambient and dew are going to get closer together, so I'll keep an eye on that as well. I only have 2 ports running, or 2 12-volt ports running, so I have my mount, and I put my camera on the always on port, so that's not going to show up here. The cam and guide cam is the USB, so I put the camera on USB 4 and the guide cam on USB 5, or the other way around, and it's running both of these at the same time, no problem at all. And one of these is also running one of the dew heaters, so I have it running on medium right now, so I wish there was a way to tell what the current draw was from the USB ports, because the camera itself, the cooled camera, shouldn't be pulling much power from here, especially definitely not 2.5 amps, because it has its own 12 volts DC port or DC power. So we'll see how that goes. And then the other USB port also has another dew heater along with the focuser, which is also USB. So if we quickly look at my images here, we can see I am shooting the Sol Nebula. So yeah, getting started with this is super easy. So far, so good. I'm going to let this run all night long. I have clear skies until the morning, and then I'll give you my thoughts on it. Alright, it's 3:19 a.m. and everything has been running for almost the entire night. Everything is still going strong. No issues so far with this. You can see that the ambient humidity has increased to 76%, and the lens temperature and the dew point has decreased quite a bit. But the power draw has also decreased. That's because the camera is barely using any power at 11%, still at negative 10 degrees Celsius. Aside from the usual complaints that everyone else have had so far, such as the labeling disappearing if you try to reset it, but I think SV241 is working on a fix for that. Other than that, this has functioned as I would expect. The only thing that I would say is that the last night, the previous night that I used it, the temperature outside was really cold. It got really cold, and I had the USB dew heater on the same USB connection block as my Astrocam, and I think the dew heater was calling for a little too much current. So when that happened, the USB slot is actually turned off. So I think that's probably some safety feature in the SV241. So it turned off. Of course, my camera also stopped taking images. Luckily, I noticed within 20 minutes because it was at a good time. I was able to turn it on, and then I put the USB dew heater on another external connection, and that seemed to fix whatever problem I had. So there are limits to how much current these USB slots can provide. I think it's 2.5 amps per USB, but whatever happened, it probably triggered some safety mechanism in here that shut the whole block down. So lesson learned, and I think I should definitely invest in some RCA type dew heaters. As far as I know, SV241 doesn't make them, so I'm going to have to search some other brands. I've used USB dew heaters for such a long time. If you have ones that you use and you like, let me know. I am all ears. And I really like that SV241 included all the accessories we need, especially like the dovetail plate. I was wondering if they would include this one because, my old one, this one I supplied myself. I'm glad they include this. I'm glad they include so many cables. And it's especially great that they include the temperature and the humidity detector sensors. A lot of other places, they charge you extra for those, so I'm glad that that's included. I usually half joke that this hobby is like 90% adapters, and that's mostly true. So when the adapters that you need come with the gear that you buy, it's always a win. Thanks to SV241 for sending this to me. This has been fun to test. I'm going to continue to use it. If there are any issues arise, you can expect a follow-up video on that. And just like the original, this has made me rethink how I should do my cabling, what kind of accessories I need, such as this one made me get shorter cables, which came in super handy with this one as well, but now I need better dew straps. And if you have any questions about this or anything I covered or anything I didn't cover, let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and clear skies.